Like the rest of the gaming world, I am completely beside myself in disbelief and shock and just utter confusion over everything that's happening with Helldivers 2 right now. Just a quick recap of what's going on. For some inane reason, Sony decided that success was anathema to the company's corporate plans, and decided to basically take the massive, overwhelming success and love and positive feelings and admiration that gamers had for Helldivers 2, and rightfully so. It's a great game. It's a fun game. I've played it quite a bit. Have some videos on the channel about it. They decided, no, that's not good. That's actually really bad. Let's do what we were sent here to do and completely destroy the player base, anger all of our fans, and turn what has been a rousing success into a mind-boggling defeat. It's exactly what they went ahead and did here, and they did it in like the weirdest way possible. So basically, and it doesn't make any sense. Like I'm still flummoxed over why and how, because it was such a layup. Helldivers 2 success was such a layup. Like part of the joy of seeing that game do so well is the fact that it came out of virtually nowhere. Nobody was anticipating this game before it dropped, and nobody expected for it to pop off the way that it did after it dropped, but it did because it was fun. It was easy to act. It was easily accessible. You could jump into it really quickly. You could start games really quickly. There wasn't any PvP, so it wasn't like players with low skills were being blasted out of contention by higher skill players. It fostered cooperation. It had a lot of fun elements in it. The UI was great. It was easy to get around in. All these things it had going for it that made it a runaway success in a way that people didn't anticipate. And then the story of its runaway success contributed to more people being interested in playing the game and jumping in and just building on that momentum and creating that community. It's why I played it. I would have never played this game if it wasn't for all of the positive love and press and whatnot that the game had been getting after its initial launch. But I decided, hey, I want to check this out. I want to see what all the hubbub is about. Turns out the hubbub was legit, and I had a lot of fun with it. Sony is putting the kibosh on all of that for no good goddamn reason, as far as I could tell. Let me just get you into what exactly is going on here. So, I'll pop up in my Steam here real quick so you can see what the update is. Posted on Thursday, May 2nd, Helldivers 2 account linking update. Attention Helldivers, due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. So, again, the game was so popular at launch, and I doubt that's the reason why they're doing this, by the way, but the game was so popular at launch that there were a lot of issues with server overload and connectivity issues and whatnot. But I doubt that had anything to do with PlayStation Network accounts, and had more to do with the fact that they weren't just anticipating the game being as popular as it was, and weren't balancing for that server load. If you're trying to tell me that the PlayStation Network wasn't built to handle capacity, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself if you actually think that. I can believe that the servers they had set up on the back end, the game servers they had set up on the back end, weren't ready for the capacity of players that had jumped into the game. I can believe that. But if you're telling me that login servers at PlayStation Network weren't built to handle, a couple 100,000 people, when you have millions upon millions of people worldwide logging into the PlayStation Network on PS4, PS5, not buying it. Account linking plays a critical role in protecting our players and upholding the oh Jesus, you can tell this is when the Arrowhead Studios devs do a community update, like they speak like human beings basically, and you just they're telling you what's coming out in the game. Oh, this new patch has we did some modifications on the weapons, or attention divers, the automatons have taken over, blah blah blah. They're speaking in the game parlance, but you could tell this is a lawyer. This is corporate PR speak right here. Like, this is bullshit that is being hoisted from on high, nothing to do with Arrowhead Studios, and that's also a real bummer, is that Arrowhead's taking it on the chin for reasons that are out of their control. And they're not taking on the chin from players. Players know that this is not their issue. This is Sony. But they're taking on the chin as far as they've put so much hard work and so much time and energy and care and love into making Helldivers 2 an awesome game. And they have to sit back, their hands are completely tied, and watch Sony tear it all down, again, for no good goddamn reason. Although their reasoning here says, and I quote, "Account linking plays a critical role in protecting our players and upholding the values of safety and security provided on PlayStation and PlayStation Studios games. This is our main way to protect players from griefing and abuse by enabling the banning of players that engage in that type of behavior. It also allows those players that have been banned the right to appeal." Oh, come on. Like, first of all, who's being banned? Who needs to be banned? I guess maybe if someone is saying some crazy shit over the microphone. I don't know. I don't see how you would need a PlayStation Network account to do that, though. Griefing in this game, I mean, this game is kind of built on the backbone of griefing. Again, it's not a PvP game, but you do have friendly fire. And friendly fire is a pretty important component to the chaos of the whole situation. I just don't see it as being, oh, this is such a huge problem. We need to completely destroy everything positive that we've ever built up, completely alienate so many of our players because we have like a griefing problem. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And by the way, the PlayStation Network is not a bastion of safety and security. Like, not by any stretch of the imagination. As such, as of May 6th, all new Helldivers 2 players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account. Current players on Steam will start to see the mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have a linked Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. PlayStation Network accounts are free and easy to set up using this link. So the issue here is that, well, there are a couple of issues. One, why should we have to do this now? Like, clearly we could play the game just fine without having to do it, and there isn't an issue with griefing or hackers or whatever they might claim there's an issue with. It doesn't exist. Everyone can play the game just fine all over the world without having to do this. The reason why they want to do this is because they just want to track your data. They just want to get you, they want to show their shareholders, look at all the new user signups that we're getting on PlayStation Network, thanks to the success of Helldivers 2. Like, for Sony as a publisher, Helldivers 2 success, even though the game costs money and they're getting revenue from that money, the fact that they can't, obviously they're trying to squeeze as much blood from whatever stone they can. And when they see all the players jumping into Helldivers 2 that aren't creating PlayStation Network accounts, to them that's just, you know, road apples rotting on the path. And, you know, if we could just get all of those players to create a PlayStation Network account, then imagine what we could have access to. We could send out, you know, promotional emails to them and maybe get them to buy other PlayStation Network games. We could send them discounts for signing up on this service or that service. We could track all their data. We have a lot of data for all these players that are playing Helldivers 2, but if we could just connect that data to an account in our platform, then we'll be able to have all that shit, all the same shit that literally every other tech company and online live service game does, that Helldivers 2 probably does to a certain extent, that to the extent that it could without having a PlayStation account linked to it. I mean, you have your Steam account linked to it if you're playing it on Steam like that. So, you know, there is that much, although Sony, I don't know what access they have to Steam's internal analytics as a publisher on Steam, but they just want to have that data themselves, either to harvest it for their own marketing efforts or to sell it to someone else, to sell it to a data broker. That's all this is for. Like, this is, again, just another mechanism for which they can try to extract as much money as possible from a fan base that already gave them $50 and is having a lot of fun with their game. The ironic part about it is it seems to be having like the opposite effect to this point. Let's take a look at how this has actually been received. Well, actually, you know what? We could take a look at how it's been received just by looking at the store page. Recent reviews, overwhelmingly negative. Overwhelmingly negative recent reviews. All reviews mixed. Like, these Steam reviews, they're pretty important. They are pretty important. It's basically gaming, PC gaming Rotten Tomatoes. Like, Someone like me, and if you're familiar with this channel at all, you know that I have something of a Steam addiction. I will just go through Steam at any given point in time and just randomly buy shit, try shit, download demos, whatever the case may be. But a lot of what I base my decision on when I purchase a game is this little doohickey right here: recent reviews and all reviews, and trying to get an understanding of, okay, what is the general atmosphere, what is the general temperature of this game from the player base point of view. If I hadn't heard much about Helldivers 2 before now, and I just launched onto this page and looked at this and saw recent reviews, oh, they're overwhelmingly negative, and all reviews are mixed, I wouldn't play this game. I wouldn't buy it. I'd be like, nah, doesn't seem like it's my kind of thing. I wouldn't have tried it at all. In fact, when this game first launched, I wasn't interested in it. I looked at it and I was like, this doesn't look like the kind of game that I'd be into. I think that's actually the title of the video that I made about Helldivers on YouTube. Yeah, the title of the video is, "These are the kind of games I don't like." These are the kind of games I don't like. So why am I having so much fun with Helldivers 2? Literally the title of the video. Like, it's the kind of game I would have never given a second glance under normal circumstances. But it was because everyone was just raving about how awesome the game was, and not just saying the game was fun, but like hearing people recount their stories of things that had gone on during their play sessions, like all the wacky random events that had occurred while they were, you know, squatting up and getting wiped out and dying of friendly fire, and all the memes and the little comic strips and shit that people were making from it. It all made it sound cool. So when I decided, you know what, maybe I'll look into this, I did come to the Steam page and I saw that everybody was raving about it. I decided to check it out. If I had done that right now, I would not buy this game. Like, I would say, this looks like the kind of game I'm not into, as the title of that YouTube video noted, and then I just move on. So this thing actually is pretty important. Like, having overwhelmingly negative plastered onto your game, that is actually a good game. It's a fun game, and it's worthy of all of its praise. It's a bad thing. It's a demonstrably, unavoidably bad thing. And for no reason at all. I mean, we could look at what the negative reviews are going to be, but we know these aren't actual negative reviews for the game. This is how a community voices its dissent, voices its discontent, voices its disappointment, lots of D's going on there, with Sony's decision, which is actually kind of an interesting thing. This is kind of like a digital grassroots movement, I guess. This is a Steam review protesting. These guys all have their signs, and they're waving their signs on the line. You can purchase this game from all over the globe. You can only play it if you're in one of Sony's 69 approved countries. Yes, so that's, you know what, we're not going to go through all these because we already know that what they're all going to be bitching about. But that is the big point of contention today. This is the big point of contention in today's story, but it also speaks to the big point of contention that I have always had with digital only releases. The idea that you can spend $50, $60, even $70 on a game, and you only have access to that game so long as the developer or publisher decides that they want you to have access to it. And then the second they go, nah, we don't want you to have that anymore, they press a button, and that $70 or however much you spend on that game is suddenly rendered useless. You no longer have the thing. They basically stole a game from you. And that's what's happening to Helldivers 2 all over the world. Helldivers 2 has been pulled from Steam in 170 countries without PSN access, while Valve ignores its own policy to issue refunds for players with over 100 hours. Yeah, because with Steam, you can get a refund if you have... You generally can get a refund if you have less than like a couple hours in a game or so. I had to do that once or twice maybe. I know I did it with Dark Messiah of Might and Magic the first time I tried to play it. But once you have a certain number of... Yeah, Steam only issues refund for players with less than 2 hours of playtime in a game normally. Yeah, so here's the thing. Helldivers 2 has been out for a while and people have been loving the hell out of it. So they've got more than 2 hours worth of playtime in the game. But the game hasn't been out for more than, what, half a year? When did this game launch? It can't be half a year at the most, at the oldest. Not even that. Wait, this game was released in February? Why did I think this game was released last year? I was thinking this game was like a November. I thought this game was like a November 2023 release. This game's only a couple months old. This game hasn't even been out for like 3 months yet. Well, I guess maybe about 3 months exactly. But still, like, this game is brand baby new. This is right out of the womb. This thing is still like fucking hooked up to the machine in the hospital. You know, almost a fucking premature birth. It's so damn new still. And yet, for people that bought this game that's only a couple of months old and have put in, you know, at least $50 and however many hours of play on it, suddenly they don't have access to it anymore. It's been revoked from them. Like, it's no longer a thing they can do. The Helldivers 2 debacle has reached new hellish lows as the year's best-selling game is now unavailable on Steam in over 170 countries. Earlier this week, publisher Sony announced that all Helldivers 2 PC players would soon need to link an active PlayStation Network account or lose access to the game. A mandate that was once a simple option at launch has since led to thousands of negative reviews hitting the once widely popular shooter. A Helldivers 2 community manager just yesterday assured that people in countries without a PSN coverage could continue playing the game, and wouldn't be blocked. But now Helldivers 2 has been pulled from more than 170 territories lacking PSN coverage, according to listings from Steam database. While some global players won't be able to join the fight and buy the game, it's clear if existing Helldivers 2 owners will be able to continue playing if they live in unsupported regions. That's going to be a big one right there. I don't think the Philippines are on that list. The reason why I mentioned that country in particular is because the other Helldivers 2 video I made was clips from a play session that I had with a random dude from the Philippines that I played with. And it was great. He was a funny dude. We had good chemistry back and forth together. It was a fun play session. It was actually a lot of fun. Probably my most fun play session playing that game.
I'm waiting until we're like flaming
and we ended up adding each other as friends on in Helldivers and on Steam. And I've been meaning to reach out and see if he wanted to have some sessions. I guess I better do that pretty fucking fast before, you know, it becomes no longer an option for either one of us. But there's a lot of stuff like there are a lot of players in parts of the world that, you know, may not be supported, who have been having great experiences. They've been having great experiences, meeting great people, you know, making great friends, pumping out great content, playing this great game, and it's all gone to naught for no good goddamn reason at all. There is no reason for Sony to do this. This is the queen mother of all unforced errors. Either way, that's a massive blow to Helldivers 2, a game that became one of Sony's all-time bestsellers thanks to the PC version. I mean, that statement alone deserves some examination. Helldivers 2 is already one of PlayStation's all-time bestsellers, and it's all thanks to the PC version. What an impressive first couple of months for Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 may have only launched 2 months ago, but it's already become Sony's 7th highest revenue game. 7th highest revenue game, and Steam is partly to thank. On May 1st, video game analyst Matt Piscatella, I guess is how you pronounce that, shared some interesting highlights from the consumer company Circana's latest video game market research. In a lengthy Twitter thread, Piscatella broke down the best performing games as of March 2024, which included some of the biggest releases we had this year, like Dragon's Dogma 2, you know, a boondoggle on its own merits, Helldivers 2, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and more. Although all of these games have performed well already this year, Helldivers 2 sales are particularly impressive. According to Piscatella, the Arrowhead Game Studios title is the best-selling premium game of 2024 year-to-date, as well as Sony's 7th highest revenue game in lifetime sales, despite launching just 2 months ago. Sony is not new to this game. They've been dropping games since 1995 with the PlayStation. Does this take it? Is he just talking about in this generation, or is he talking about since the PlayStation, since the inception of the PlayStation? You'll also find Helldivers 2 in the top spot for the top 20 best-selling premium games year-to-date ending March 2024, and the top 10 titles played on Steam in the same month. It's also ranked number 5 in the top 10 titles played on PS5 list. And number 2 in the top 10 best-selling premium games on PlayStation platforms, beaten only by MLB The Show 24. Jesus. So yeah, this game was a remarkable success in the 2 months that it's been out. I feel like it's been out for longer than that. But that's just because of like the sheer depth and breadth of the penetration that this game had in the zeitgeist of our modern gaming ecosystem. Like Helldivers 2 is a thing. Like there are all sorts of people talking about it, all sorts of memes and videos and whatnot. Like it feels like it's been around longer just because of like the breadth of the amount of people that have gotten into this game and have like built communities out of it, which is what makes this self-destruction on Sony's part all the more baffling and mind-boggling. Ignoring its own policies, Steam stewards Valve have also reportedly been issuing refunds to several longtime Helldivers that have logged into Super Earth space for more than 100 hours. Steam policy normally doesn't allow refunds if a player exceeds 2 hours in game, but since the PSN requirement came months after launch, Valve rightly seems to be making an exception. Okay, I initially read this as they weren't doing refunds, but it seems like they're doing refunds, which is actually really, really cool. That's really cool on Valve's part to do that. I don't know how much of a financial hit they're going to take, considering that if this game becomes unplayable for people in 170 countries, they may be shelling out a shit ton of refunds. They should definitely take that out of Sony's ass in some way. But it is really cool that Valve is actually stepping up and doing that. A Helldivers 2 developer recently reiterated that the PSN change came from Sony, not the talented team at Arrowhead Studios, so issuing refunds is probably the most effective route to getting a message across as opposed to shouting toxicity at devs. Sony also announced the mandate on Friday and thus has yet to officially respond to the backlash that has escalated pretty wildly in just a few days. So yeah, refund the game if you can't have access to it anymore, if you are in one of these territories, or if you just don't want to create a PlayStation Network account. I have a PlayStation Network account. I haven't logged into it in a long time. I can't remember the login. I don't want to at this point. I don't really have I don't play my PlayStation 4 that much, and I don't think I'm ever going to own a PlayStation 5. I have no reason to own a PlayStation 5, to be honest. So I'm not gonna. I don't want to. And I'm sick of games that ask me to do that shit anyways. I didn't like when Hi-Fi Rush made me log into my Microsoft account to play it on my PC. But you know, I was already logged in on my Microsoft account for something else, so it had my password saved locally. So it didn't take me much to just go, okay, click. But having to dig up what my PlayStation Network password is, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not going to do that. Out of principle, it probably wouldn't take me much, but out of principle, I'm not going to do that. And if you don't have one and you don't want to create one, then don't create one. And see if you could get a refund for your game. What an unfortunate turn of events, man. I was so excited about the success of Helldivers 2. I hadn't played it in a little while because I've been playing Fallout 4. But I really was going to reach out to that dude in the Philippines and see if he wanted to have a play session. I've been anticipating getting back into it. It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I like how the development team, I like their approach to a quote-unquote live services game. I do quote-unquote because I despise live services games. That's the other thing. This is the kind of game that I would normally hate for a variety of reasons. I don't like online shooters. I'm not a PvP person, but it's not a PvP game. And I don't like live service games. So like the combination of these two things, and you can see the animus I have for these kind of games in my Skull and Bones review. Although that's a little different because that's also just a shitty game. But I just don't get along well with these styles of games. And the fact that this game has even captured me speaks volumes to the kind of game that it actually is. It speaks volumes to the incredible work that this development team has done. And it's just such a bummer to see it go down in flames like this. I hope Sony reverses their decision. It would be insane if they didn't, honestly. Like, given all of this, it would be insane if Sony didn't say, my bad. And they should just take that L. They should just take that L because they aren't losing anything by not having people have a PlayStation Network account when they play this game. because they're still selling the game for $40. They're still selling the game for $40, you know? And a lot of people bought it. And a lot of people will continue to buy it if the community is still cool and fun and, you know, they aren't, you know, trying to do anything demonstrably negative for the game, like they're doing here. So, who knows? Knock on wood that after this calamity that befell them, after their announcement, that they do the right thing. They go back on their intentions. They let people just log in from all over the world. Hopefully they'll relist in all of those 170 countries. I don't know what happens then to people who already got refunds, if they get their refunds reverted, or if they just get access to the game without having to pay it again, or if they have to repurchase it. I don't know. I don't know what happens there. Maybe that becomes a little bit of a sticky situation. Maybe the toothpaste is already out of the tube for that very reason. But if there is any opportunity for them to reverse this and get it listed back in those countries, they definitely should, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it just to have somebody log into a PlayStation Network account. Even if Sony's bookkeepers say, oh, it's worth it, because then we'll be able to market, we'll be able to data mine them, we'll be able to sell their data in a package to data brokers or other game studios. Like the financial gain that we get from all of that will counterbalance whatever we lose from this negative press. That's impossible. That's an impossible thing now. They will never be able to make up what they lost from all of this. So they may as well just go back on it. Sorry, my bad. And for any future release, if they do want PlayStation Network logins to be a part of it, do it at launch or don't do it at all. No mid-life cycle rollouts on this sort of thing.